question for you.
Go ahead.
All right. If you could do anything that you wanted to do with your life, let's say you woke up tomorrow morning, you won the lottery, you have a limitless supply of money. What would you do? What would Zach Englehart do?
Hunting guide. Period.
Okay.
Hunting guide.
So explain that.
So this
Why?
is gonna blow your fucking mind. All of the things that you just said, like the limitless money, all this stuff, and then like your dream job, this all literally has happened to me this week.
Well, great segue. You would have thought I would have planned it.
Yeah, no shit. And we haven't talked about this. Just for the people that are listening, we haven't talked about this. I've been saving it for this. So with my medical retirement through the VA, I get paid a salary, and that's well more than what I need. All my bills are paid, so on and so forth. And you have medical insurance. Is it a mooch on the system? That's for you to decide. I feel like I earned it. I can't turn my head good to the left. I'm not an ambi-turner.
Dude, you earned it. Yeah. You earned it. You earned it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So what I did was, over this last summer was I went and took my exam for my New York State hunting guides license and also my whitewater guide license. And this last summer I trained as a whitewater guide, and actually Saturday I go get my CPR and first aid, and then I can send in my paperwork to be licensed in the state of New York. And I spoke with a gentleman from Adirondack Mountain Outfitters about taking a position with his company this fall as a hunting guide, and that's what I'll be doing for a living.
Awesome.
So yeah, and that'll be my job notionally.
Awesome. So I can add that to the website as soon as that kind of goes through.
Yeah, and but I mean, things have been coming out like I got invited to guide for 2 organizations this May for turkeys, and I'm booked out for most of the month.
Holy cow! So explain to me and explain to listeners what a hunting guide does.
Okay, so a hunting guide is an outfitter, for lack of a better term, is a person that you can reach out to that has expertise in the endeavors of hunting and fishing and hiking or canoeing or whatever the case may be. This person is typically licensed through whatever state they live in by their Department of Environmental Conservation, forest rangers, what have you. What the hunting guide or outdoor guide does is they offer expertise in whatever game that you're pursuing. Whatever that would be, let's say, for example, waterfowl. If you want to hunt waterfowl, I would have the decoys and the calling expertise and the land access to be able to call you in geese. You would shoot those geese, and you would pay me for my services.
Okay.
Now, if it's deer hunting, I would know through intensive scouting where the deer are. I would bring you to that area and put you in a position for a shooting opportunity at a deer.
Nice. Okay. So you're exactly what I need.
Yes. And then
we knew that
when
before.
So when you shoot that deer, my job would be to help you clean that deer, butcher that deer, get that deer out of the woods, and then get it to a taxidermist safely and make sure that it's preserved. If it's turkeys, I would have all the decoys. I would call the birds in. I would have the land access. And you kind of there's a theme. Yeah. Now, there's a portion of it that I don't have right now, which is I have not got my fishing guide's license yet because I'm not a real big fisherman. And New York State's huge for trout and salmon fishing. It's easy money. I just didn't do it at the time because I was just like, whatever. I took the exam for the whitewater guide portion only, and the guy was like, hey, we made a technical error. We made a paperwork error. We signed you up for the hunting exam. Do you want to take it?
Okay.
I was like, well, fuck it. I was like, fuck it. I'm already here. So I took the exam, and I actually got 100%.
Nice.
And I was like, damn. I was like, the only question I didn't know on the exam was, what is the limit for grouse in, like, Herkimer County or something like that, and it was 4 a day, and the answers were like 32, which is astronomical, 1, which isn't right, and I was like, oh, it's just a process. When in doubt, Charlie out. I picked 4, I got it right. And the thing about the New York State exams, it's open book. They give you the rules.
Ah, okay.
So it wasn't that bad. Cool. So, but the other thing that comes with it is you have to be a competent woodsman. And you have to know how to navigate with a compass, with a map, with a GPS. You have to know wilderness first aid. You have to know shit. I mean, how to read the weather. How to survive.
Dude, that's so freaking cool. I'm super impressed. I'm
super
excited for you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And again, this isn't, I'm not bragging. I learned a lot of this shit the hard way.
Oh, brag. This is your show. Brag.
Yeah. And I learned a lot from Jake Newton. Jake's taught me a ton. And when I have questions about bushcraft or wilderness survival or equipment in that arena, I call Jake.
Yeah. Awesome. It's cool to have a great resource like that.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's pretty great when your lifelong friends is Bear Grylls. You know what I mean? So that portion of it, yeah, that's my dream, man. Is I love being outside. I like the whitewater portion of it because it's really sketchy and dangerous at times. But it gives me an excuse to cruise the river every day, and the river is 2 blocks from my house. Nice. I mean, I can be on the water in 15 minutes.
Hey, I think it was that company. What was the company? What was the whitewater rafter company that you worked with?
Adirondack River Outfitters.
Were they the ones that posted the Instagram the other day with the boats going over the ice?
Yeah.
I almost tagged you in it to share this really cool thing with it. Then I noticed, no, that's your company. You probably
that's us, man.
That's awesome.
Dude, I wish I could steal you for a weekend in April so you could come up and raft the moose with us, bro. Because the moose.
What do you mean you wish? It's possible.
If you want to come, dude, it's free. All you gotta do is come. I just get here and everything else is taken care of.
Well, now with my new schedule, going back to the regular schedule in the fire service, I have 5 days off every 3 weeks.
Yeah, bro, come. Because check this out. The Moose is the only Class 5 river in the stadium. They got Class 6. Class 6, you'll fucking die.
Nothing.
And yeah, well, we don't. It's not like we go through it like, hey, everybody, we're gonna die. That's not how it works. But but for real, the Moose on the East Coast, it's that's the river. That's it. You don't do any better. That's the one. There's only 5 guides that I know of in the state that are certified to do that river as paid guides, and they all work for ARO. And even they're bro, it's gonna suck. And I'm I'm going. It's gonna hurt, but I'm gonna go. I got to do it. If I get 5 trips down it, then I'm licensed. Then I can do Gucci-ass trips down a sketchy river.
Yeah, I can make some of those things happen. I can make some of that happen.
Well, I'll split the bill with you. You tell me how much money you like. You know what I mean?
It's a business-related expense.
My man. I love it.
Yeah, that's super exciting, man. I didn't even know that I was going to segue into that. I just had a feeling I was supposed to ask you that question today.
Dude, it's like that. The Holy Spirit just comes and gets you, brother.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, if you would have turned it around on me, I would have been I'd podcast. That's what I would do. I would, And so the other answer to that is not necessarily hunting guide, but being involved in some kind of tourism industry. And I've told Chris in the past, zip lining or something like that. I'd like to, be a zip line guide or something like that. And I don't want to do it for too long, maybe 3 years, because I'd get bored with it. And then I'd want to be a kayak instructor or something like that. But make the most of my time with just podcasting with you, and that would be it.
Dude, I was talking with Ashlyn about that the other day. I was like, Ash, I wish I could just fucking do this all the time because, you're in Virginia, I'm in New York.
Yeah.
You can do something on Instagram, and I got to go back through it, and I got to look through it. It'd be so different if we were sitting in the same office, and I'd be like, Pat, I'm going to put this picture up real quick, bro. And you're like, don't worry about it. I'm going to hit up Facebook, and then I'm going to hit some stuff on LinkedIn, and then we're going to call, and we're going to it would be so much easier if we're in the same room. And I was like, I wish I could fucking podcast full time as a gig, because I was like, with the amount of effort that you already put into it with the social media portion and I do, and the amount of growth that we've seen in that arena, which I think has been quick, and I think given what we're doing, we doubled in a week, which is pretty kick ass.
Yeah,
at least on Instagram.
Yeah. And we went from 4 to 8. I'm just kidding.
So it's to be able to really dig into it full time would be amazing, and that part of it's so much fun. It wouldn't be work at that point. It'd be a labor of love, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and who's to say it's not possible? All things are possible. Basically Chris works from home right now, so I mean, from now until things take off, whenever they do take off, I mean, who's to say it's not a possibility in the future?
That'd be killer, man.
Yeah.
I had that interesting conversation with the vegan warrior the other day, and it just it made me think man, I kind of feel bad for Joe Rogan sometimes.
Yeah, he didn't feel bad for himself though.
No, I don't think. But he's lamented before about dealing with people that were unruly, and I would have never. I'm nobody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for some lady from Sydney, Australia, to come out and attack like that was astronomical to me.
Well, I think that's probably the first of many, and it's like I was telling you via text. Hey, if you don't have haters, you're probably not masculine enough. I thought that'd be a good T-shirt.
I agree. But she's coming on a podcast page about masculinity. Be like, you're not a real man. I'm like, do you know your audience? Like, you don't know what room you're in right now. And then she gets in an argument about vegetables with a farmer. She's arguing my boy Binsky about farming.
Oh, I didn't read all that.
Yeah, so the dude that she called him I'm not going to repeat the name because it's, in Australia, it's a fine word. In the States, people get a little bent out of shape. She called him some names, and this man grows vegetables.
Well,
and she's talking to him. He's like, well, I grow vegetables, and I consider them to be sentient beings. And she's like, you're a cunt. And he's like, what are you talking about? I farm.
Some people just need attention. That's all there is to it. They're just craving attention any way they can get it. That's all there is to trolling. And it's like I said, like I was texting you, look, that is the new currency for, I don't want to say young people because it goes across all ages now. It's just 2019. It's a 2019 currency. You don't necessarily have to be good at anything in your real life. All you got to do is just go earn points in this video game of trolling where they just go on YouTube or Instagram or Twitter and they just drop a troll mark and they say, I'm a better human being than you are. My point. And then you come back and you go, no, fact number 1, fact number 2, fact number 3. Those facts don't matter. They already got their point and they ran away. If they get your goat, they get extra points. Yeah, I know. But
I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm an ordained minister. I'm such a bad guy that I'm certified to do gay weddings in New York State because I'm such a jerk. Not a lot of Christian ministers will do that. I'm not, hey, look, I'm all for it. I'm supposed to love other people. That's my jam. I backpacked Africa, fed starving kids, but I'm a murderer because I kill my own food. Like, are you serious, bro?
Well, like I said,
I'm sweating right now. That's like,
so she gets her point by dropping the comment, and if she gets your goat, then she gets 2 points, and then she keeps.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm venting at you, but like in the comments, like I was as professional and on the high ground as possible. Like I was like, listen, let's meet in the middle. Let's talk about this. Like I don't have any problems with what you're doing. Why don't you just try to see where I'm coming from? And she never made a valid argument. All she did was try to bait me into like a pissing match, and I wasn't about to have it. I just told her every time. I was like, listen, friend, God bless. I was like, this is my perspective. It's just my opinion. I said, I'd love to meet you in the middle, and that's that.
Yeah, but trolls don't have to have any facts or relevant, rational information. All they have to do is drop a piece of a bullet point and say, I'm a better human being than you are. And then they get all their friends to come and give them high fives. They're all like-minded already. It's all the room that you hang out in,
No, it's like an echo chamber, yeah.
Yeah, echo chamber. That's good. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. And but that's all there is to it. And you know what? If we didn't with a podcast like the one that we're running right now, one that's based on, people doing extreme things from Adam Vlastro, doing his speed hikes to Ayla Chase doing all the stuff that she's doing, and then Jose Garcia doing the stuff he's doing, and then you've got yourself, avid hunter, me working out, fireman, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of extreme lifestyles that are going on here. And I think we would be doing something wrong if every once in a while somebody didn't come and hate on the extreme lifestyles, because people don't want people to be thriving. People don't want other people to be out there living their lives to the fullest. They get jealous of it.
I agree.
Their version of that is digitally living their lives by breaking down other people. And that's the life of a troll. So let them have it. Screw it.
And I agree with everything you said. It's like Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, man. And by the way, man, I've been loving the videos of you lifting, dude. You have been getting after it. You're just so intentional. I love it, man.
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
The growls are just natural. They come out. Then I watch the videos and I'm kind of embarrassed by the growls, and I'm like, well, I can't help it.
It's the beard, dude. The beard is super rugged. I'm digging it.
Oh yeah. This is called my FMLA face.
I'm digging it, man.
This will be gone, unfortunately, on April 12th. But yeah,
this is the most stubble I've seen you with. I'm digging it.
Oh, it's getting long. It's getting long. Yeah, because of the SCBA mask I have to wear in the fire service, I have to, be clean shaven. But every time I go on FML, I grow it out. And I used to joke with Chris all the time with my wife, as soon as I retire, I'm never going to shave again. And in the early days, she would say, well, you're going to have to find a new wife. And I say, well, you'll be old then anyway. I'll probably be trying to do it anyway. So we always joke like that. But now she's into it. She loves the beard. So, hey.
That's like you just walk in the room, you got to talk to her like you're Clint Eastwood, like kind of squint a little bit like, feel lucky, punk. You know what I mean? And she's got that neck brace. It's not like she can get away.
She can get away. She's just not quick.
Yeah, I'd be like, come here. I'm going to love you right now, ma'am. No,
but she loves it. And, yeah, I'm glad.
Dude, how's she feeling, by the way?
She's doing good. She's uncomfortable in the neck brace, and she's getting over a lot of the medication, like the pain medication effects. Like one of the biggest ones she's dealing with right now is blurred vision. So she's like, this is how you see all the time? Yes, that's how I see all the time. That's why I have the biggest text possible on my phone, and I hold it 2 inches from my face, and, so on and so forth. Can't read road signs. I'm blind as a bat. Oh, well. You don't need that in the fire service. You're in a smoky environment, can't see anyway. I always think it's funny that firefighters will go and, especially when they first get started, for their masks, they'll get these fittings inside where they can get their glasses to fit, inside their masks. I'm like, you're going to be in a blind atmosphere anyway, with smoke or absolute dark. You don't need the glasses inside. But, they always rationalize, well, what if I have to wear it in a hazmat? And say, okay, I get it. But
well, what if it's Thursday and it's raining, but my dog pissed in the backyard, but not the front yard?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're just going to what if it to death.
Yeah. So I just go blind when I put my mask on. But yeah, so yeah, she's complaining about some blurred vision issues, but she's working through it, and she's doing some of her work from home stuff, and I've been getting domestic as hell around here, cooking, washing dishes. Washing more dishes, cooking more, washing more dishes.
What do you got? Bloody nose? Mm-hmm. Why?
I don't know. It's been bleeding since Tuesday.
You've had a bloody nose since Tuesday. Come here.
It's been bleeding.
Quit picking your nose.
I'm not.
It's not like you're picking your nose. This is Lily. We call her Booger Eater.
Hi, Lily.
Can you say hi to everybody, Bug?
Hi.
Say hi to the people, Lily.
Say hi, Animal Mind Podcast. No, she's being shy now all of a sudden. Lily's 8. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Yeah. Lily,
she was 4 when we were in Virginia Beach, and we were at the Mexican restaurant then.
Do you remember going to the Mexican restaurant with Pat? You don't remember? Yeah, you were a little guffer.
Half her lifetime ago.
Yeah, you're right. That's half. Lily, I got a question for you. What is your favorite animal to go hunting for? You don't know. All of a sudden you're shy. She'll talk hunting to me all day long, but of course, we're recording, so
I don't know.
You don't know. You gonna turkey hunt this year?
She can't pick one.
I don't know. I've only hunted deer.
She's only hunted deer. That's her favorite.
And fox.
And fox. Well, which did you like better, fox or deer?
Fox.
Why'd you like fox better?
Because they're bad animals.
Because they're bad animals. Do you hear that?
I don't like killing the good animals.
Get closer to the mic. She said she doesn't like hurting good animals, so foxes, bobcats, coyotes, all the bad ones, she's all for it. So, all right. Well, thank you for my drink. Can I load? All right. See you later.
Hey, Lily, can you bring me some more coffee?
Can you bring Uncle Pat some more coffee? It's going to be a long walk. I take it to Virginia. She said no. She said you can make your own coffee.
Oh, jeez. That's all
She's
right.
feisty.
I don't need any more tonight. It's getting late. I've been trying to stop drinking coffee around 6 p.m., helping me sleep a little bit better, and it's been working. But so I'm just tossing and turning less. But anyway. Oh, where were we?
I don't know. Let's circle back. So the dream is to hunt and fish as much as possible, man, and be outside. I'm gonna do some hiking of some mountains this year in the Adirondacks, hopefully with Adam Velastro. I gotta work them details out, and then also with Ayla, and then of course my wife and kids. But I'm gonna be hiking selfishly, because I saw some photos on some of the websites about the peaks here in the Adirondacks, and some of them with the right amount of elevation will allow you to look down into beaver meadows to hunt deer better. And I'm all about efficiency. Like I'm like very militant about my hunting efficiencies. And so given the opportunity, I'm going to climb some of these mountains with the objective of tourism, of course.
Okay.
But also being like on my GPS being like marked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that for me is like a big deal of, you got these guys, like you think about, like, have you seen Meat Eater, Steven Ranella, those guys?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to make sure, because I know Steve listens. Steve's a huge listener of the Animal Mind podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So those guys, like Aaron Snyder, owner of Kafaru. I'm wearing a Kafaru shirt right now, by the way.
I see that. Very sexy.
I got a Kafaru hat on as well.
Yeah. It's a
yeah, so I love those guys. But I have a what I call a chink in their armor is, yeah, you can run around the West all you want. It's wide open. You can see an animal from 400 yards away and sneak up on it and kill it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't fucking do that in the Adirondacks. It doesn't work.
Right.
You have to find that animal oftentimes within 50 yards of that animal and then try to dispatch it.
Very wooded.
Yes. So for those guys that are on television and they can do all these spot and stalk hunts out West, I challenge their efficacy as hunters, because I have never seen one of them come to the East Coast and do what I can do here, knowing full well that if I had wide open space, I can do what they can do. But can they walk in my shoes? I think not.
I think what you're doing is just trying to invite them over.
Yeah, kind of. But even still, I take that back. Now, Steven Ranella, I believe, can, because I've seen him hunt blacktails in Alaska in a similar fashion. I believe Steven Ranella can.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never seen it, so therefore I don't believe it.
I want to take a moment here and give some shout outs to some of our far away listeners, because we were digging through the stats of the podcast and just checking out to see how far we're reaching out there. So, of course, we got the U.S. Most of our listeners are in the U.S. So, big shout out to Americans out there. And, of course, next up would be Canada, our English-speaking attic and French-speaking. And, of course, it's like you can throw that bottle out the window and hit Canada from your house. So, it's pretty...
I mean, I take my Canadian pretty seriously, you know what I mean?
Labatt Blue Light.
Yeah, I'm drinking Labatt Blue Light, man.
Or Labatt.
Yeah, Labatt.
All right, next up, United Kingdom. All right.
The Brits.
Yeah,
the Brits.
They're listening in.
The old World War teammates. What's up, boys?
Yeah, and then we've got Australia, and we know we have at least one of those is a hater, unless they're just hating on Instagram. I don't know if they're listening or not, but there's about 5 times as many of those people that are listening in Australia. So,
I'll take it.
We got some people in Italy and Norway and Russia.
Buongiorno.
And Guam and Ireland and even in Uganda.
The Ugandan fan, I know we texted about this, is my favorite fan.
Yes. So if you're the fan listening to us in Uganda, please shout out to us on Instagram. We're going to make you famous.
Send a direct message. I don't care. Whatever it takes.
I bet it's some Ugandan king or something. Maybe he can make us famous.
That'd be rad. Yeah, just like be a Ugandan royalty for a day, dude. That'd be so tight.
He probably just wants us to wire him some money, because he needs us to hold. Or no, he's going to wire us the money because we have to hold it onto it for a couple of years or something.
Right. Yeah, he's a deposed prince. So
yeah.
I just like
happened to
you
find
never know
out
who it could
PayPal.
be. It could be some fucking dude on deployment. It could be some random Ugandan that was just like clicking around on shit. You never know. It's just like I want to know. The mystery is so real.
I do too. But how could you accidentally click on the Animal Mind podcast? It's not like the easiest thing in the world to accidentally click on. There's got to be. It's like where I live in Matthews County. You don't just drive through Matthews County. You've got to go out of your way to come to where I live. Like you have to go way, way, way out of the way. Nobody drives through here. There's no through roads. We're at the end. We're at the end of the interstate, where the road ends or where the sidewalk ends, as Shel Silverstein would say. That is Matthews. All right, and so nobody's just popping through. Just like nobody's popping through to listen to the Animal Mind podcast.
Yeah, a little detour.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. The Ugandan thing, like that was when I was flipping through everything. I was like, United States, Ireland, England, Uganda. Wait a minute.
One
so
dude.
I was like, hell yeah.
So, but I have something to say to this dude in Uganda. There's only one listening in Uganda, right?
Yeah.
What's up with his word of mouth? Why isn't he?
Yeah, it's like you didn't know. It's like you can't go say something to the other Ugandans, man.
There's only one of you there. I know you got to go spread the word. I would like Uganda to be higher than Canada. I wanted to go United States, Uganda, then Canada.
I want to be like an A-list celebrity in Uganda, and I'm not asking for a lot.
You might already be an A-list celebrity, being the old ticklish hamster, as it were.
The old ticklish hamster. Yeah, dude, that was my old Twitter handle, man. That was rad.
Yeah, and when for the Zen Disc Golf podcast, we had, that podcast went everywhere. The entire map was lit up for that. So it's probably some of these people, crossing over, which is awesome. So I want to also send I also want to send a shout out to all those Zen Disc Golf podcast crossovers.
Yeah, I've been getting some follows on Instagram by some disc golf dudes, and I just wanted to say, like, thanks, boys, and keep slinging them. Like, every one of you disc golf folks that I see in your profile that follows me, I'm following you back out of respect for you guys slinging discs, man, because I can't do it anymore, and I just, I love the game, and I'm glad that people are still playing it.
Yeah, I've been considering resetting up at least a version of my course out here. But we've had so much water. The entire thing would be a marsh. But it's finally going away. It's pretty exciting stuff.
Like, I feel confident, like, I could probably still maul you in a putting contest, but as soon as it comes time to drive, I'm going to throw one good drive, and, like, my C3 through 7 are going to explode, and that'll be the end of my tournament. You know what I mean?
But you know what? After I lost the use of my hand, I don't throw anywhere near like what I used to throw either. And it's all excuses. Could get out there and keep slinging them. Speaking of disc golf, Tim Stewart, he's going to be on the podcast coming up sometime soon.
Yeah, we end up having to rearrange our schedules with Tim, and I haven't spoken to Tim in years. And every time that I talk to Tim with you and through the podcast, he is such an insightful dude. Like, he has so much to say. And the only time Tim ever disappointed me, man, was when I asked him what his favorite book was, and he thought about it, and I was like, wrong. Zen and the Art of Disc Golf. And he was like, oh, and you're like, you're going to come on a Zen and the Art of Disc Golf podcast. And I'm like, you dropped the ball, Tim. I'm never going to let it go.
So for the Animal Mind podcast listeners who are, they're getting ready to turn their dial now because we're talking too much about the old days in the Zen Disc Golf podcast. Tim actually was a co-host with us from abroad, and Tim joined the podcast, and he was doing a blog called Mind Body Disc at the same time. So it was kind of like one of those, if you can't beat them, join them kind of situations. And he joined us, and so did Chris Bowden, and the four of us. And would get together every other week and talk disc golf, and it was good times. But Tim is so much more, and Tim is actually running a home gym workout blog. What's it called? I need to look it up. Gym Quest or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
I'm gonna look
you sent it to me. Let me look and see if it's in my text.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up. But anyways, so what he's doing right now, he's doing a number of things, and we really need to talk to him to figure out everything that he's doing. But I know he's still really into. He got really deep into photography. He's got a
His photography is awesome.
really good photography page on Instagram, and let's see if we can. We'll see if we can get you some hits, Tim. And then you look up the gym thing. I'll look up his Instagram. But he's also has a website that helps.
See, if we had Joe Rogan, we'd be like, Jesse, look that up.
I've been trying to get Chris to do that for us. I thought that'd be good, but she has to get out of a neck brace first. Just sit here and look stuff up.
Chris,
it's
thanks,
Jamie.
Chris.
It's Jamie. Jamie, look it up.
Yeah, it's called Jamie, not Jesse. Yeah.
Or maybe you can get Lily. How good is she at Googling?
She'd do it, but then I'd be like, this. How do you spell that? I'm like, no.
You don't have to spell it. Google will spell it for you. Just get close enough, and then Google will recommend it. Probably have her looking up really inappropriate stuff. Lily, will you look up?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fill in the blank. Tim Stewart on Instagram.
Is it Jim Crafter?
That sounds good.
I think that's the one it was, Jim Crafter.
So what he's doing with that blog is helping people build the perfect home gym. So he was actually listening to. Yep, that's it. So he was actually listening to the last podcast with where I was talking about how I was getting my entire gym mailed to us, and he was like, "Hey man, I have a blog that talks about the best equipment that you should buy for your home gym." No, I didn't know that, Tim. That might have been good information before I ordered.
Real handy information. A little late, brother.
So he's like, "So what did you get?" And I'm like, "I don't know if I want to tell him because it might not be." Apparently, he tests all these products now. But he's got a lot. He like you said, he's very smart dude. He's got a lot to say. Very well read in the realm of self-improvement and philosophy and things like that. Great guy to have on the show. He's also, from what I understand, dealt with a lot of back pain and stuff recently. So he was listening to a lot of your story, and he wanted to talk to you about pain and kind of getting through it too.
Dude, I can't wait. It's gonna be fucking pretty fun. I'm honestly super stoked to talk to Tim. It's been a long time.
Yeah, he's a good dude. So his Instagram for his photography is Tim Stewart Photography, TIMSTEWARD photography .com. I'm sorry, at Tim Stewart Photography. I'll go ahead and I'll throw it in the show notes. Y'all can go check it out. He does a lot of looks like he does a lot of macro and textures and things like that. It's a hell of a cricket he's got here on here. That's pretty cool.
Dude, it's like I wanna hire him out at least one time to come with me on a hunt and just have him take photographs of the process.
Yeah.
From soup to nuts.
Well, we need to hire a full staff because if we're gonna move up there and set up office in New York, and that would be extremely difficult. We're not cold type people. But anyway, so set up office, go out and hunt during the day, podcast all night. Oh, that's kind of like what's Rogan's theme goes, work out all day, podcast all night. We'll go hunt all day.
Joe Rogan podcast all day or by day. All day.
Yeah, all day. We're going to hunt all day, podcast all night. And anyway, yeah. But if we ever get to the point where we can be doing this as a full-time business, or when, I should say, make some of that happen. But we need to hire some people. We need a photographer, like a videographer to, follow us on these Animal Mind podcast trips. Like we need to go hiking with Adam Velastro. We need to go whitewater rafting with Ayla. We need to go work out with Jose. We need to go survival camping with Jacob. I mean, we've got a list that's growing of just the cool stuff. Instead of just podcasting with these people, going up and actually meeting up and doing what they do. I think that'd be really cool. I think you said Ayla brought that up too.
Yeah, it was Ayla mentioned it. And of all the things that you've said, my greatest, the one is I've already made some connections with, at least for me locally, one of my very good friends here, one of my very best friends in the world. I love this man like a brother. And in fact, it's one of the few men on the phone I talk to about, hey, I love you, man. I think we do that sometimes. Okay, love you, brother. Later. And I'm like, this dude was Army Special Ops. That's as far as I can go with it. And he does photography now as a profession, passion, and hobby. And dude, like the fact this dude doesn't put himself out there, it saddens me deeply because his talent is disgusting.
Yeah, we should target veterans.
It's filthy,
hire
bro.
only veterans.
So, and
I'd fire myself, but
yeah, when you're gone, no, you're out. No, but service industry people. But even still, so talking about like getting out with Ayla, like I get out with her all summer long, and now that she's been on, the content's only gonna get better. But the one that pops into my head about it all is like going and doing a lot of this stuff. It requires time and it requires money, and it's difficult. Talk about like wanting to go do the stuff with Adam Blastro. That dude's a machine.
Yeah.
Like Ayla Chase, for example, she ran 22 miles to work today. Ayla, listen to me, folks. Ayla Chase, before she went to her job in the Army, ran 22 miles to work and then went to PT.
Yeah, it's not
and then went to work for the day. And then ran home. 22 miles in the opposite direction.
What
did you do today?
What's chasing you, Ayla?
I don't know. Ayla Chase, I've said it before and I'll say it again, is the man I want to be when I grow up one day.
What are you running from, Ayla? So for those of you who need to go back and start binge listening to the Animal Mind podcast, Ayla joined us on AMP4 and AMP 4.2. And she's just a pretty incredible human being.
But yeah, man, I know I'm being a little bit more animated today, and I apologize for the listeners that think that I'm like a boring person. But I had a revelation of sorts where I realized that through listening to the other podcasts that I had kind of taken a back seat, if you will, and not that I'm trying to be a star of any sort, but Patrick offered me this interesting opportunity to cut loose today, so I am.
I offered you that way before this thing started. I said, this is not my show. This is our show.
I know. Let me you're right. What I'm saying is like I've finally taken that to heart.
And I'm glad to see that you're warmed up to the whole process and that you're really you're jumping in with both feet.
I don't know necessarily that I wasn't warmed up. I don't know that I was comfortable with myself in this because sometimes I feel out of my own depth because I don't always see myself as a interesting and I don't see myself as an interesting or even inspirational person. I just tend to see myself as very average.
I don't think so. Here's the deal. And unfortunately, it's really unfortunate. We had to cut the Jacob Newton, the 10 bullets with Jacob Newton. The audio quality it was too poor to release, and we decided to just have him on the show again here soon. And I have a lot of ideas for that. I want to run by the both of you guys, but and come up with some other 10 lists and things like that. But one of the things on his 10 list was this book called Wild at Heart by John Eldredge. And have you checked into it? Because he recommended it to us both. I got it on Audible. Huge recommendation to you, to all of our listeners. He's right. It is a great book.
Let me grab that on Amazon right now while I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, and so basically
Wild at Heart, right?
Wild at Heart by John Eldredge. And he goes into the fact that, men are men for a reason, and this idea of masculinity as a virtue. And of course, we're talking about the real masculinity. We're not talking about the tainted form of masculinity that this society wants you to believe is a real thing. But John Eldredge is a Christian writer, and so he looks at it from the vantage point of Jesus Christ and the disciples, but also as a a memoir of his own life in this book, and talking about his life in the woods and hunting and wanting to be out there and hiking and I guess he grew up. His grandfather was a cowboy and things like that. So he's got all of these kind of masculine interests. But anyways, he takes a look at society and tries to figure out what is society trying to do to men. And he was probably one of the pioneers of looking at this, because there's been other books written.
And don't even do that. I don't want to cut you off. All I'm saying is if we go down this rabbit hole, it's going to get intense.
Well, I mean, the whole podcast is about this, but other books like The War on Boys and things like that. And I haven't read that one yet, but I have it on my list. And there's other podcasts out there that talk a lot about the war on masculinity. But but John comes to it from a Christian perspective, and I really like the way that the book is laid out. I forgot why I brought this up because I've gone long-winded. But he essentially gives you permission, man, to be that guy, to be the dude, to step out and to take command. And he does talk about this concept that I think most men have, of this fear of being out of their element and being found out that they're out of their element. So I'll be honest with you, man. I'm a podcast show host. This is the second podcast that you and I have done.
Right.
Do I sit here in front of a microphone and feel 100% confident and comfortable being here? No, I just know it's something I like to do, and I know that we get such positive feedback about it. It's not that I sit behind this microphone and think every time we have a show that I am an authority on everything we talk about. As a matter of fact, I am not an authority on half the stuff we talk about, and usually I'm just the one asking questions. I mean, that's kind of the job of the interviewer anyways, just to admit that they don't know everything. But for some reason, we think that when we sit in front, when we take a role, whether it's anything that we do in our life, that if we don't know everything about it, we're going to be found out. And there's always that fear I think men have of it's an insecurity. I mean, if that's what you want to label it as, it's an insecurity. So what if I sit behind this microphone and what if we get into a conversation where I'm in deeper than I know, and I'm just not an authority on the conversation? Oh, well, I'm going to tell you, I don't know what you're talking about. What are those things you're talking about? The antlers again? You called them shafts?
Yeah.
I just throw that shit out there. I don't know what that is, and how do I learn? I ask, and we talk about it all the time. But being vulnerable by saying, "Hey, I don't know what that is, but I would like to know what that is," and I'm sure that there's 80% of the men listening may not have known what that is, but you don't know. You don't know because you know what it is. It's second nature to you. But that's how we. I mean, just the fact, and that's how I kind of got on this is. With you saying that you're jumping in full form, there's no need to have any kind of. Well, I guess there is. You can't get away from having some kind of insecurity that we might tread on water we don't know everything about. But you know what? Just freaking jump in. Who cares? This is our conversation. Everybody else is rudely jumping in and listening in on our conversation. It's like we're at a restaurant and everybody else is listening in. How dare you? How dare you ride to work and listen to our show?
Dude, and the part of it, man, it's like that whole masculinity piece, dude, with media, like for me, where I started to realize in my mind's eye that masculinity was going in a wrong direction was the portrayal of it was The Big Bang Theory, number one, and the other one was what the hell, Mike and Molly.
Okay. So explain.
So I'm going to start with Mike.
I've never watched either of those shows.
I don't watch. My wife and I don't no longer have cable because we just don't watch it. We think that mainstream cable's garbage.
Yeah. We don't have it either.
No, we watch baseball. We have MLB.TV. That's our jam.
Okay.
So that's, you know what I mean? We're baseball fans. Like that's where we're at. But we watch programming on Netflix and that kind of thing, but we're very selective. But so Mike and Molly. Or think of any sitcom where there's a man and a woman and the guy is some dopey, incompetent idiot that works some half-assed job. He's always trying to get laid and his wife never wants to, and no matter what he does, he's some big dumb dope. Okay?
Well, I mean, that's half the sitcoms that have been out there. If you go back to The Simpsons and all of those. That
Homer Simpson, Peter Griffin.
Yeah, the male archetype, the big dummy, and then the wife that runs the show.
Except Al Bundy.
Yeah, well,
Al was the man. Polk high, baby. But so
I don't know.
and
He was pretty dopey. I wouldn't really call him very masculine.
But he was a winner. No, but I'm just being smart. So that part of it, like I use that as an example to describe like that's not men. Men aren't like that.
Yeah, shouldn't be.
None of the men that I know that are married husbands and fathers act that way.
Right.
None of them. None of them.
Right.
None of them. Zero.
And here's the thing: women don't want us to act that way. Women don't want a dopey man, just kind of a burden to drag about through the day.
Yeah, okay. Now, how many times have you had to beg your wife for sex? Because I haven't.
I don't think I have.
I'm not trying to bring our sex lives up on here. Let's not take it this direction. But all I'm saying is that's not how a normal relationship works. A man is not going to walk into his house and get hey, baby. It just doesn't work that way. That's not a relationship. That's not even healthy. No.
And like I said, we could go any direction you want to go. Everybody else is rudely listening in on our podcast.
So I'm gonna sever that conversation, at least for the Mike and Molly part right here, because I think the Big Bang Theory part of it is way more important.
Okay.
And I want to talk about this because, listen, I'm sure that there are people that are watching that are listening in that are gonna be like, I love the Big Bang Theory. I'm not saying it's a bad show. That's not what I'm saying. I would never watch it. I have self-respect. However, the way that the men behave on that show, I want you all to know, I would beat the piss out of every man on that show. And this is why. They're all weak.
What do you mean by weak?
Look at the way they dress, number one. They're some sort of androgynous weakling. They're trying to be like academics. I have friends that are doctors that don't behave that way.
Okay.
The weird little catchphrases, bazinga. Nobody fucking talks like that. Number one, and it's just like a snarky, like here. Real men, if you talk to me like that, I will break your jaw.
Proverbially.
You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. Like men don't interact that way. The men don't interact that way. If I came to your house and belittled you and then was like, bazinga, how hard would I go out the door?
Yeah, he'd be gone.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's created a socially acceptable environment where men can be. We live in a world now where we know as a society that people aren't allowed to crush each other's skulls.
Right.
So we can get away with a lot more. Well, why not have the respect for your fellow man as a man to not say something that you wouldn't want to be said to yourself? And if you do say something that you wouldn't like to be said to yourself, you had best be prepared to back it up.
Well, and that kind of brings us full circle back around to like the whole keyboard warrior kind of concept is like, people feel so comfortable to say whatever that they want, any kind of nasty snarkiness to you on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, because there's no repercussions. They know there's no repercussions.
I grew up in a house, man, where if you said something that was out of line, it's coming to get you.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, I don't necessarily, condone violence, but to some degree, the risk of violence can be a helpful thing.
Well, it's just
the risk of knowing you can be popped in the mouth can kind of.
We've insulated ourselves from violence to such an extreme extent that people don't even realize it exists.
Yeah.
And when it happens, they're shocked. Like, it's a tragedy. It was a massacre. Like 8 people died. Settle the fuck down.
Yeah. And so when I say I don't necessarily condone violence, I guess needless violence is what I'm saying.
I'm with you.
There is a time for violence. And it's like Jacob was saying, when Christ goes into the temple and he makes a whip and he starts, breaking apart the people selling stuff and exchanging money at the temple. I mean, so we even see evidence of Jesus Christ, having a certain amount of violence, and of course we also have the turn the cheek Jesus as well. So I don't want to go too far down that rabbit
Yeah, but
hole.
Jesus understood the balance.
Yeah, so there is some forms of necessarily taking care of business, and at what volume you turn that up to needs to match what the situation calls for. So it's not always a pacifistic kind of thing that's necessary. But you have to have that potential there, and you need to know that there's that potential against you, because it only makes you a stronger person. So I think us, like you were saying, being insulated from this idea of, well, we all have to be safe and everything, and we have safe places to run to. Well, there's other countries that don't give a crap about your safe places, and they want to come in and kill you. They're ready to come in and kill us as Americans, and you're worried about your safe place because somebody said something that hurt your feelings. And when you insulate yourself that much from this concept, this idea of there are repercussions for not being prepared, I'd say that hinders us as a society.
Dude, Jesus was a hard dude.
Absolutely.
And listen, I was thinking about this the other day, and I had a really cool conversation with myself. That sounds weird to say, but
you're so agreeable when you talk to yourself.
I have so many great points. Think about it this way. All right, so Jesus is God's right hand, right?
Well, he is God, and he's
God, but he comes to earth as a man.
Yeah, he writes himself into the story.
And he's like, okay, I'm going to come, I'm going to teach, and then I'm going to take all the sins of man, and they're going to crucify me. And he knows this, and he does it anyway. Now, think about God being your father, okay? And God, you're in your bed, it's a Saturday morning, you're chilling. God comes in, he's your dad, he whispers in your, hey, I need you to get up. I need you to go to earth real quick. And I need you to, it's not a big deal, it's nothing crazy, but I need you to take on all the sins of mankind, and then they're going to crucify you. And it's going to suck, and you're going to, it's going to be miserable. A normal human being would be like, no, I'm just going to roll over and go back to sleep. And Jesus is like, okay.
Because we're weak. And so
the man took on the sins of the world.
So yeah, and so there is to a certain degree, if you want to look at that from a philosophical direction, and I love the topic because I like talking about the theological ramifications of this. But if you want to just back up and be a little bit objective about the philosophical ramifications of that. If you look in your own life and you, from big to small, and you have some sort of understanding of the concept that a little bit of the investment of your own pain and discomfort at times creates a greater return on your investment than you would ever think possible, you can see that as a sort of a metaphor for the crucifixion. And it's not even to put that in the same realm, because obviously the crucifixion was let's face it, if you've never thought about this before, God waited to come to earth when the nastiest, most evil, painful way to die had been created by the Romans. And if you've only looked into it just as far as they put some nails through your hands, you hung on the cross until you just kind of starved to death and died. You need to look into it a little deeper, because there was much, much, much more discomfort and pain that would occur at these crucifixions. I mean, very often they would sick the dogs on the people hung on crosses to eat them alive. So that's just one thing, and we don't really have any history that's what happened to Jesus. Of course, we have that his spirit was given up. There was a large earthquake, the veil was torn, and that he was stabbed in his side to make sure he was dead. But if we go back, if we look at this in a philosophical direction, us as humans, we avoid pain. Jesus did not avoid pain. We avoid the smallest amount of pain and discomfort. We don't even like to go outside where there's no air conditioning because we think the return on investment is going to be so low. So us as a society really suffers because of our avoidance of discomfort and what I refer to on the show very often as controlled suffering. And we just don't become better people. There's no return on investment. We're not making any investment of this sacrifice. There's got to be a sacrifice. So if you want an education, you know very well because you're in college, you're sacrificing time, you're sacrificing money, you're sacrificing this X, Y, and Z. If you want to go far in business or in any job that you're in, you sacrifice time. And this is a big thing in the fire service. A lot of guys don't want to go to training when they're not getting paid to go to training because it's, why would I go do something for work when I'm not getting paid for it? Well, it's a sacrifice. If you want something bigger and better to come into your career, you've got to sacrifice something. It's a constant sacrifice. When I go out and I work out, I'm sacrificing time. I could be laying on the couch, I could be sleeping, I could be watching TV, I could be watching Mike and Molly and The Big Bang Theory, all that. But I'm not. I'm putting myself through pain because there's return on investment. I become a healthier person, more aesthetically pleasing to my wife and myself. So I don't know why I went down this rabbit hole, but if you look at it sort of in connection with the way that Jesus interacted when God was on earth, this concept of he was willing to suffer for his return on investment, and his return on investment was saving of all people who wanted to be saved or who were called to be saved.
Well said.
Wow, that was a long monologue.
Yeah, we went for it. I like it.
Anyway, well,
so I had a couple questions for you, Pat. You're getting into the archery thing, and you're kind of leaning towards being more of an outdoorsman, for lack of a better term, right?
Sure, more of an outdoorsman every day. I've always been sort of an outdoorsman, but I just want to be more like you.
Oh, gee, don't do that.
But less
it'll ruin your life, I promise you. Because my wife will get mad at me because she'll be like, I'll be on my phone and I'll be going over maps of properties and stuff, and she'll be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm planning a hunt for the third weekend of October." She's like, "It's January 1st. Hunting season just ended." I'm like, "Yeah, well, you can never be too prepared." So
it's good to be obsessed about something.
So as a guy that's kind of getting into it, like, what are you thinking about? Like, what's on your mind about it?
I want to be a well-rounded man in every way that I can be well-rounded. So from mind, body, and spirit, and then the tree branches off of that. So off of mind, I want to be able to be well read, but also have a lot of information, generalized information about a lot of different topics. But it's also behaviorally with the mind. I want to be able to communicate well with people. And that's one of the reasons I do this podcast. I'm not the best communicator in the world. Now, there's certain things I can do. I consider myself to be a pretty good leader. I do well at leading people. But I'm not the greatest at conversing with my wife. I'll be very honest with that, and I'll put that out here on the podcast. And it's something I'm working on. And actually doing the podcast and interviewing you and talking to these other people, it makes me better because then I get to go and interview her, and I become a better conversationalist. See, I, like many men, think the job is over when I leave work and come home. And then I just don't want to talk. I just want to be by myself, or I want to go to the woods. So there's the mind part of it. And then there's the spiritual part of it. I want to be more well-rounded spiritually. I want my walk to be with God to be stronger. I want to understand him more. I want to understand why he's doing the things in my life that he's doing, because he's obviously well involved, and I can take you through any of those corners that you want to go through. But he's, even in this, going back to the fire station, the amount of things, the amount of dominoes that had to fall the exact right way, there has to be a bigger something in control of this, putting me in this direction. Now, I've been through a lot of suffering over the past couple of years, just like yourself. But you were just saying that, man, your dreams are sort of coming true with this whole hunting thing. And if some of those dominoes for you hadn't have fallen in the right direction, you might be still working. Where were you working? You were working at the craft. I kept thinking cheese, but yeah, the craft place where you were miserable. If some of the things hadn't fallen in your lap, you might not be going in the direction you're going. So spiritually, I'd like to have a better understanding of myself and my walk with God. And then, of course, physically, there's a lot of the physical things that I would like to know how to do. And so as a fireman, we have to wear many, many hats. And so just occupationally, it's kind of a cool thing. Physically, I get to, put out a fire, cut somebody out of a car, go deliver a baby, save somebody, from this thing, that thing, another thing. And then it's constant problem solving. But there's other things that I'd like to know how to do, fix cars, just a lot of these more masculine things. And when I moved out here to Matthews County, and bought my almost 18-acre property, one of the big things that I wanted to be able to do was to start hunting, and that was just another underdeveloped part of me. And so there's that part of just becoming a more well-rounded man, but then there's also the part of putting food on the table, good, solid, healthy food. Because let's be honest, what's in the grocery store is a bunch of crap. Most grocery stores. And I want to be able to pass some of these skills down to my son, and hopefully, so, Bryce is a level 2 autism, but there's nothing saying that he won't eventually, once he gets past his toddler years, be a smarter man and more capable man than I ever was. But I would like to initially take him out and teach him how to do some of these tasks and hopefully make him a better man through the metaphors that you learn from hunting. Because with hunting, it's not just about killing. There's a lot more that I understand. There is the mind, body, and spirit element that goes into it. And there's a lot of lessons that I think that you can teach your children with hunting. So that's part of it too. So that was another long-winded answer.
No, man. I mean, the killing portion of it is so small. It's a huge event, spiritually and emotionally and physically, but it's such a small portion of, my dad says it in such a great way. He said it's hours, weeks, months, and days of work and just intense preparation for 10 seconds of pure adrenaline. And he's always called sitting in a tree stand being 20 feet closer to God. And I agree. Because when you're up in that tree or you're on the ground and you're stalking that animal, it's just you.
Right.
You're alone with your thoughts, and there's a constant dialogue going on. And if you could be in my head in those moments, you would be like, okay, we're going to commit this person, for psychiatric help. Because it's just this amalgam, man. And I can't put it into words. I've been fortunate. I've killed quite a few different animals, and I've never taken any pleasure in the act of the killing, but I have taken great pleasure in feeding somebody. I have taken great pleasure in walking in the woods with those animals. I've taken great pleasure in taking a knee over that animal and thanking God that animal presented me with the opportunity, because I don't think that animals, you don't just kill them. They give you an opportunity, and it's up to you to do so ethically. And that was the thing that with the old vegan warrior gal that really kind of made me giggle, because if I had to choose between starving to death, freezing to death, or being eaten alive, compared to being swiftly killed, I would pick the swift death. And I implore anyone that has a hardship with hunting is bite your arm as hard as you can and tell me if you'd like that until you died. Right.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that when, you and I were texting back and forth about it, and I had a deer carcass. Okay, so I live where there's tons and tons of deer. I mean,
I'm gonna come help you have less of them.
I see no less than 10 a day, and that's not being over dramatic. That is the way that we live out here. And there's at least 10 in my field, if not the field across the street or the field down the road when I'm going off to work or whatever. There's so many deer. Yeah, and you can get pretty close to them too. But here's the thing. We hit them constantly with our cars. and they become a huge nuisance. If hunting here was not as big as it is, and probably could be bigger, there would be many men, women, and children killed in car accidents way more often from hitting these deer. But another thing is, I just had to clear a deer carcass out of my ditch that froze to death just, I think, maybe a month ago. And
waste.
Yeah, and I mean, the buzzards were, nature's cleaning crew. They were taking care of it, so it's being taken care of. But I mean, that's a hell of a way to die. And I mean, the deer was in my ditch for a little while, and it just died with his eyes open. Just froze to death. And
now I implore you, if you don't like to hunt, go freeze to death.
Yeah, but and here's the thing about that, man. It did not, other than the buzzards taking care of it, which is good. I mean, the circle of life continues.
Circle of life, yeah.
But that could have been meat for a family. So, yeah. I mean,
it's as healthy as it gets, man.
Yeah.
The part of it that I relish the most is not the act of the hunt. It's the planning. It's the work. Some people do heroin, and that's their escape. And for me, it's planning to the 10th generation don't give a shit detail of a hunt that I may not be successful on.
Yeah.
I relish those moments with the same kind of passion and intensity that other people, think Tiger Woods, trying to win the Masters. I approach it with the same level of passion and intensity as Tiger Woods does on the 18th hole at Augusta. But not like, not on a Sunday. It's from the day the season opens till the day the season ends, or I don't have any tags left in my pocket. Like there's no off button. It's pathological. There's like, my father is what I would describe as one of the most accomplished Adirondack deer hunters I've ever met.
Right on.
And for him, it's a leisure activity. It's a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's life.
Yeah, there's something so, and I guess what's intriguing to me, and probably to most men, especially ones that did not grow up around hunting. I didn't grow up around hunting guns or anything like that. Now we've got guns, and I have been hunting, but I need to go more before I could even call myself a hunter. But the primal and sort of ancestral part of doing something that humanity has done since Adam and Eve, since after Adam and Eve were kicked out of the garden, is that's something that's it's unfortunate that humanity has gotten so far away where we buy ground meat at the supermarket and don't understand that there had to have been death for that to end up in your hamburger. And then also, so the vegetarian or vegan, and if that's your lifestyle, that's cool, whatever, I'm not pushing meat on you at all. But I would say, because more often it's the vegetarian or the vegan trying to push the non-meat eating on the meat eaters. But that kind of goes without saying. But if you look back into your ancestral history, I don't care where you came from, what part of the world you came from, your bloodline would not even be here. I don't care where you came from. There's no ancestral long period of vegetarian or veganism and that runs in anybody's ancestral history. Your bloodline would be gone. You wouldn't be here. If your ancestors didn't eat meat, you wouldn't be here.
I mean, you can look no further than your teeth.
Yeah. Well, and then, vegetarians do make, we have flat teeth or more like blah, 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 blah. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll tell that to my canines.
Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, so I think that's definitely intriguing, the whole primal, because, man, I love to go out and hike and camp. I just want to be in the woods. I just want to do whatever will get me in the woods. 5 years ago, I was playing disc golf every day, and that was really, remember we used to talk about it's a walk in the woods with a purpose, and that's awesome. But I think man and woman, but humanity and mainly men, and I think John Eldredge really hits it hard. So definitely go read that book. I'm going to add that to our book club now that it's been mentioned on a working podcast. Wild at Heart. He really hits it hard. Man needs adventure. And part of that adventure for us is we need to be out in the wild. We need to be out there doing things that have a slight amount of danger. To believe that we have some kind of value to ourselves and to others. And when we take that adventure out of our lives, we take risk out of our lives, we take danger out of our lives, and we supplant it with couches and fast food and Mike and Molly, it's not a formula for much masculine growth or even human growth as human beings, or just not a miserable life. I mean, when you're laying on your deathbed, do you say, well, I'm glad I got through that 12th season of Mike and Molly?
No. No, you don't.
No, but you do say, I'm glad I went out and I speed hiked the Adirondacks, or I found that great space and had that time with my son, hunting turkey or whatever, or I'm glad that I got out there and I played as much disc golf as I possibly could, or hey, I'm glad I got out there and just lived, or got on the whitewater rafting, or man, I'm glad that I know what my body can be pushed, what extremes my body can be pushed through. I don't want to lay on my deathbed and think, well, I don't think anybody sits on their deathbed and said, damn, I had a couple more nights of Netflixing in my future if I wasn't dying right now.
I agree. Well said.
Yeah. Well, man, I say we go ahead and call it a night. I
agree.
Great
well
show.
Done.
Yeah.
Very fun. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. I appreciate you jumping in with both legs tonight. I hope to see more of Zach Englehart on the pod. You've been doing a great job. Love you as my co-host.
Love you too, brother. Love you too, man. This is just, I feel good.